In this episode, I'm going to tell you 5 ways to ruin your speech in the first 5 seconds. You might want to get out your notebook and take notes. But first, if you want to be a better speaker, go ahead and smash that subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. It helps a ton and brings you good karma. All right, let's get started. Hello and welcome to Public Speaking Tips and Tales with Speaking Coach Kelly. This podcast is dedicated to helping you become a more confident and effective speaker. I'm your host, Kelly K. Walker, and each week we'll dive headfirst into the deep end of public speaking. I'll share real stories from the stage, interview other speakers, and evaluate speeches to show you what works on stage and what doesn't. So let's get started. You may be wondering why I am focusing on the negative for this episode, since as a manifesting expert, I am all about focusing on the positive. It's because these 5 ways to ruin a speech in the first 5 seconds drive me nuts. And they're things I wish I could eradicate from all speakers' mouths so no audience ever has to suffer through them again. Number 1, never, ever start your speech with an apology. No matter how your tech might have malfunctioned, no matter how badly your introducer brought you up on stage, or what kind of havoc the venue might be wreaking on your event. Never, ever start with an apology. Hopefully you haven't had the experience of your tech going to crap. But don't worry, it happens to everyone eventually, which is why you learn to give your signature presentation without slides, just in case. It is just a fact of life that technology can't be counted on to work 100% all of the time. Maybe the AV guys can't get your slides to come up on the screen. Maybe your clicker won't work. Maybe your cheek mic keeps cutting out. These have all happened to me, by the way. And here's what I have learned, especially by watching other speakers freak out when these things happen to them. Don't get upset about it. And especially don't complain about it to your audience. It makes you look spoiled, entitled, fragile, and inflexible. If something that goes wrong is so big that it absolutely must be acknowledged, just make a joke about it. Show the audience that you are an unflappable professional and you are there because you are committed to sharing your message, not to being the center of attention, there for the glory of being on stage and receiving all the applause and thank yous afterwards. And if your MC screws up your introduction, let that go if it's small, and make a joke if it's big. I once introduced the wrong speaker when I was helping MC at an event, and instead of getting embarrassed or choking on stage, I just made a really funny joke about it, and it diffused all the tension when the audience was allowed to laugh with me at the terror I just caused in the speaker who I was trying to bring up before her time. And when that speaker did come up during her actual time slot, there was no need for her to even mention it because we had already laughed about it and let it go. Number 2 of the 5 ways to ruin your speech in the first 5 seconds. Start your speech with these 2 words. Are you ready? Okay, so. Did you get that? Okay, so. Those are the weakest 2 words you can open a speech with of all time. I attend this public speaking class / party / training. I don't really know what to call it, but it's so fun. I do lean towards calling it a party. But it happens every Tuesday night in Sandy, Utah, and it's called The Studio. It's a bunch of speakers and aspiring speakers who get together and play with speaking. If you're interested in checking it out, it is really fun. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. Or if you can't figure out how to find the show notes, just go to speakupspeakers.com and scroll down for The Studio. and it will give you all the details. Speakupspeakers.com. So at this studio, there are several short speeches every week. And every time somebody starts their speech with the word so or the words okay so, I wince and cringe. It's like nails on a chalkboard for me now. I have become so hyper aware of it at this point that I can't not notice it when somebody does it. And also, I would be mortified if I somehow forgot and started one of my own speeches with the words okay so. I really, really don't ever want that to happen. By the way, if you have never been to Toastmasters, go visit one and listen to the awe counter report. During my first speech in Toastmasters, which was only a 6-minute speech, I said so 36 times. The awe counter's job is to count all the filler words that people say when they speak. So 36 times in about 6 minutes is an average of saying the word so once every 10 seconds. And in my opinion, beginning your speech with the word so or the words okay so is even worse than using the word so randomly throughout your speech, though I do not recommend saying it 36 times. I can't help it, but when a speaker starts their speech with okay so, I instantly lower my expectations. You do not want people lowering their expectations of you before you even get to the third word of your speech. If you are a chronic okay so-er, try just skipping the okay so and start with whatever your third word would have been instead. The third way to ruin a speech in the first 5 seconds is to start with the words, I'm going to start by telling you my story. Oh, I just shuddered. It's hard to describe the sense of foreboding and low-level panic I feel when I hear this sentence, but trust me, it's very unpleasant. That baleful pronouncement sparks a fear that I might have to sit for hours through a long, drawn-out, overly emotional, negative wallow fest that could go on forever. Even if your story is fun and short and upbeat, starting with that sentence will kill it before you even start. So instead of saying, I'm going to start by telling you my story, just jump right into your story. Just tell us. Don't tell us you're going to tell us. And side note, remember, keep the wallowing to a bare minimum. Only 5 to 10% of your entire speech should be describing your low point. Otherwise, your audience is going to feel hopeless and depressed when you are done. Blah. Okay, number 4 isn't really that bad, but the energy behind it bugs me, so I'm going to include it. And that phrase is, thank you all for coming. Wait, why are you thanking them? All they did was put on clothes, drive to the venue, park, and find a seat. Whoop-de-doo! Don't put yourself in a submissive position when you walk out on the stage. If you start with a big, long thank you, it sounds like you think they're doing you a favor. But you want your audience to feel like they are the luckiest people on the planet to experience your speech because it's going to change their lives forever. So instead, say something like, I'm so excited for the aha moments you're going to have today. Or I can't wait to see all the light bulbs that are going to go off today. Or I am so excited to watch the transformation that's going to happen. Or something similar like that to build their anticipation for your speech. And finally, number 5. I absolutely hate it when I hear this abomination of a speech opening. The last speaker was so good, we should just end this meeting now. No! Never put yourself down in comparison to a previous speaker. If you must mention them, express your gratitude to share the stage with them because you love their message or you love their energy or you love their book, etc. Just assume that the audience will love your speech as much or more, and they are in for a treat. Similar bad openings I've heard, especially at church, are sentences like, I've been asked to speak today, so let me just start by saying I'm sorry. You might be going for a laugh, but all it does is set a very low bar. And remember, our reticular activating systems are always on the lookout for proof that something we've been told is true. And people find what they're looking for, which means if you invite them to look for all the ways you are wasting their time with your boring speech and terrible delivery, guess what they're going to subconsciously be looking for? Yep, all the ways you are bad at speaking. All right, I thought that was a fun list. I hope it was helpful for you guys. Let's do a quick recap of the 5 easy ways to ruin your speech in the first 5 seconds. Number 1, start with an apology. Number 2, start with the words, okay, so. 3, start with the words, I'm going to start by telling you my story. Number 4, thanking the audience for being there. And number 5, criticizing your speech or yourself as your opener. I have a poll going on this episode to vote for the one that bugs you the most. And I am very curious to see how they stack up. I think they're all terrible. And I don't even think I could pick one to be worse than the others. So I am looking forward to see what you guys choose is the worst. If you know you should be speaking, but you can't figure out your next step, I offer a completely free, no strings attached, 30-minute game plan to help you find your best next step. To claim one of these free sessions, go to my show notes, or if you can't find the show notes, go to tidycal, that is TIDYCAL, tidycal.com/Kelly Walker /game plan. tidycal.com/Kelly Walker /game plan. If you like this episode, please give us a 5-star review and remember to subscribe. Give us a thumbs up and ring that bell so you won't miss the next episode when it drops. I will see you all in the next episode of Public Speaking Tips and Tales with Speaking Coach Kelly.